Hello, John here. Welcome to Microaces workshop once again. We are on episode 10 of the SE5a build, and thus far we have an aircraft with a chin, as we call it, and our nose piece built. There we go. We're going to press on to build up our finish off the front of this aircraft, get the exhaust system on there, getting it looking properly like an SE5a, and adding some finishing touches. I have been a little bit lazy though. I've forgotten, as you can see here, I have forgotten to put the stickers to cover the carbon fibre wing braces. And I've also forgotten to put our little covering piece in the center there that covers over the rest of the carbon fiber and the little brace that you can see in there, that little white shallow triangle. So I'm going to crack on and do that now. That should have been done. Well, certainly the stickers could have gone on prior to installing the top wing, and the center piece that covers over the carbon fibre in the centre of the wing. That should have gone on pretty much after the installation of the top wing. So apologies for that, but we'll get it done now. Let me put that to one side for a second and get our stickers. There we go. And looks like we've got S44 and S45. I don't suppose it matters which side goes on which. Let's just peel them off. And then I'm definitely going to use some tweezers here, just to get them in the right place under the wing. Now, sorry, difficult to show you and get it done accurately at the same time. So just bear with me. Yeah, I wish I'd done this. Oh, there we go. That doesn't look too bad. There we go. Just being careful not to bump the rigging too much. Once we've got it all nicely set. Okay, that's one side done. On to the next. Just get the edge up with the tip of the knife. It's just sort of holding it in the middle there. You really can't see this, but there's a bit of static about today. Wow, that is proving to be rather more difficult than I thought. I think we got it. So we've got both of those on there now. And the more difficult part, or not more difficult, but more time-consuming part, is getting this center section on. This is part Z16A. A few of these extra digits appearing in this version 2. There we go, so pop that out. And that, take those. Just move that to one side. I don't think there's anything left on that sprue, so I can remove that from the building area entirely. Now that should fit under there like so. There is a little white patch or lighter patch under the wing there. Now what I'm going to do before I actually install it is taper back and front so that when it sits on the wing, it's flush with the existing structure. So I'm just putting that, you can see down there, just putting that on the edge. It's under the workshop title there, but just putting it on the edge so I can very carefully sand what I term a shallow bevel into the. In fact, I'll do it up here. I would normally do it on the side to add support, but I'm just using my fingers instead. Just sanding it. Essentially, it's sanding it to a point, keeping it as shallow as possible. You can see there is, if you, I don't know if you can see that on camera, but there's a wavy line now appearing. It seems to be in line with my 3 fingers. That's why I do it on the side of the board. Because if I can just move my fingers now and again, hopefully it'll even up. Yep, it certainly is. As you can see, there's a bit of material coming off here when we sand, but it's not a huge amount, which is, from a building point of view, it means that you don't have to have a special area to build these kits in. It's the sort of thing that you could actually do on a tray on your lap with in your living room, basically. You don't have to secrete yourself off away from the rest of the family. Although the back and forth and the scraping might require somebody to turn the volume up on the TV. So I'm onto the, I've done the front, the leading edge, as it were. I'm just starting on the back. Now, by rights, this should be slightly more shallow than the front because it comes in at a shallower angle to the wing material that it's going to go on to. So I'll see if I can do that, but move the fingers so we don't get too many wavy lines. It's looking good. Just make sure I take it right to the edge of the graphics on the printed side. So this is one of those situations where you really use the Yoo-hoo glue at its slippery best. So we're not going to apply, remove, and then wait for the glue to dry. We're actually just going to slip this into place. But before we do, as I would always recommend with any of these builds, it's just to dry fit first, just to make sure that the part is as you hope it would be. So yeah, that all looks good. So good, it's not going to come out. Come on, there we go. It's out. So I'm just going to put a little smear of glue as well. Obviously this isn't particularly structural, so we don't want it flying off when we're charging around the park. Okay. Make sure I've got it around the right way. And then just slip it into place. Okay. Move it slightly more centrally. There's a little bit of a margin at the edges because of where the struts sit. Just gives it adequate room for those to locate where they sit. So that's all pressed down. Let's press down the back. Everything's looking good. Let's run the back of, see there, the back of the blade, or the back of the knife, not the blade, back of the knife, just where where that part touches the wing, just to make sure it's pressed down. And there we have it in place. Now, in an earlier episode of this build, I did suggest that we would be putting some carbon fibre braces up to the tops of the cabane struts. We're actually not going to do that. The aircraft is, the top wing is really nice and stable. It doesn't actually need it. Obviously, it's an extra step, it's extra weight, so we came to the conclusion that we wouldn't put that in place because it was unnecessary. So so we've left that off. So apologies for the error in the earlier videos. Now I'll make sure that I hopefully I edit that so that either we remove it or I put some text up just to say that it's a step that's no longer required. There we go. That's what happens when you build your first prototype on camera. Okay, so we've got all of that done, which is fantastic. Now what we need to do is build up our nose. So at the moment we've created the radiator piece, and obviously we've got the back area there. What we need to do now is, with using the skin piece there, that is actually Z something, isn't it? Z20, I think. I've already removed it because I just wanted to do a quick check that we got the dimensions correct, so that it sat nicely. I've also already scored it, as you can see here. But what I haven't done yet, which is recommended in the manual, is to sand down these edges all around the three sides of this that hatch cover. The reason for that is purely aesthetic. On the real aircraft, these would have been a metal part, and so you basically thin it down so you don't see this great big 1 millimeter thick white edge. And there's a little trick that one of our customers showed me, what made me aware of, that actually works quite well here. Because obviously what we're doing is, although we're making this more aesthetically pleasing when it's on the aircraft, and we're also making it weaker, if you like, so more prone to damage. So it's a way to mitigate that particular problem, which I thought was pretty ingenious. So once again, just for the purposes of the camera, I would have probably put this, because it's a nice straight edge, I put it onto the edge of the board here and sand it down, but that's off camera. Oh, by the way, talking of cameras, returned to using my camera on my mobile phone because it's a heck of a lot better than these quite expensive um, webcams that you can get now. I've got actually that's a webcam there, and that's not too bad. But I think they're probably designed more to capture faces and facial recognition and all that sort of stuff. So it finds it very difficult to deal with the pattern on the board, and the focus just doesn't work. And even focusing it manually, it was really struggling. So apologies for the last episode because that was, I think, probably a little bit out of focus, but you get the gist of the build, I hope. So let's do the other side. As you see, it doesn't actually take that long. It is a bit of a faff to have to sand things down, but I assure you it's definitely worth doing if you want your aircraft to look um, good on the shelf as well as in the air. Okay, you're getting that. You're getting that. Even it up a bit. Yeah. I'm going to be more aware of where my hands are. So, and then I'm going to sand this back area as well. I'm going to be careful here because it's contoured, and if you catch those contours, then you can cause a little bit of damage to the part itself. So, just being very careful to keep everything on the sanding stick whilst I sand, as you can see, like so. Okay, I think we're almost there. Now, that little trick that that I was taught or shown was to basically add some CA glue all around on the inside, and let that dry off. So that's what I'm going to do. And obviously the CA forms a nice hard shell. Ooh, it's a bit globby. Let's just remove that. Okay, and try again. So go. So eventually it soaks into, because we've opened up through sanding, we've opened up the closed cell foam, which is essentially what this is. Looks like all Depron. It soaks in to some extent. Okay. Looks good. picking that up. I'm just moving the glue around now. I'm not actually applying more. Just using the tip of the bottle to. Go. So that needs to dry now before we do anything else with it. So we'll just set that aside. And the inside of the hatch is reinforced as well, because it is taken on and off to put new batteries in to access the motor, and underneath that to access the electronics. It needs to be quite tough because it's handled quite a bit at the time. So what we do is put a little mesh. You can see here this part here, P18. We put a little mesh into the material, and that reinforces it. So go. So on the on P18, we've got it to show the center of it. We've taken the nicks out of the part, top and bottom, to enable you to align it on your on the foam itself. Whilst we're waiting for the reinforcement CA glue to dry, what I can actually do is shape this particular part so that when we actually attach it, it's not trying to force the part out of the curve that it needs to be in to create the hatch on the top of the hatch. As you can see, just by rolling it, bending it, it will actually start to take shape, and you can always check what, how it's going with just applying it to where it will sit once it's attached. So that looks pretty good. It's not trying to spring out too much. Just give it a quick extra bend. There we go. So we'll set that aside. And the other part we need is this particular foam part. We've already added the reinforcement plastic part to it, P33. So literally just cut this off the sprue, and that's going to sit at the back of the hatch. As you can see, it's got a little hole in it, and that hole is where another of our magnets go. Now, where did I put? This is always the problem, isn't it? Where did you put the magnets? I'm sure I actually attached it to something. I did. I just attached it to a knife I had. Is that really it? That's not it. That's too small. So I didn't attach it to that knife. Wonder where that came from. Very strange. Maybe it's still in the bag. Is it still in the bag? It's not in the bag. Where can it be? Oh dear. real world problem. Okay, I am going to nip off and grab a little magnet. There. I'll be finding now, won't I? Good. So that magnet lives in there. Use your noddle. So that actually lives in there. So what I'm going to do, I'll just take that out, just pop some glue in there. Okay. I'll pop some in there too. That's it. And then obviously we need to make sure we've got the right polarity, because obviously this is going to be going up against where we've got that S17 sticker at the moment. So that's actually the way around I've got it at the moment is pulling away from it. So by rights, it should be pulling towards it, which it does, which means that if I plonk that into the hole like so, job done. So whilst that's in it like that, I can put my sticker over the front of it, S17. Okay. Hold it in place, and then just to make sure the magnet is right at the front there, I just place the knife over, and that obviously pulls the magnet towards itself. So there we go. That's in place. Right, let's see if this is nowhere near dry yet. No, that's still wet, so we need to put that aside again. That's fine. What can we do now? I know. Let's add our bit of detail to this aircraft. The machine gun that sits over the wing. There we go. I believe it is a Lewis gun. Just remove this. Now there is a slight change to this over and above the Mark 1 kit, if you like. Just got a little extra detail, which is the foot of the mount itself. Taking the whole structure down onto the forward part in front of the cockpit. I'll show you how that all goes together in a sec. Once I've got this part of the sprue, I think I probably need another blade. It's rubbish. So I've got two parts here. I've got P23 and P24 as well. P24 is the bit that's sitting here, and that's the additional part over and above the previous kit. So let's just remove that. Go, and then trim this down. Okay, so we've got both parts available to us for gluing. So just to check, this just folds over on itself and glues down. So all I'm doing is just a quick dry run just to make sure everything fits, so I know where it's supposed to be going. It's cool. So I'll get that glued now. Okay, let's just fold that over. Just going to let that fall apart again, and then we'll let that dry off a little. And then this other part, there should be some scores on it that just allow it to be bent in half, but leaving a little platform at the top. So sort of almost like an A-frame or an upside down V. Like so, there we go. You can see there. Just leave that as is. That doesn't need gluing at all. Okay. And okay, let's bring this together now. Make sure it sits perfectly. There we go. Excellent. And then this little item, just there's a little nodule on the end of the mount, and that should just go through the hole there. So that sits at the bottom like so. What I'll do is, as you can see, it doesn't want to stay, so I'm just going to add a little bit of glue, attach it. There we go. So that will eventually slot into the deck via the prongs here. Now I haven't at the moment. Yes, so I'll show you. At the moment, I haven't added those slots into the onto the fuselage because I wanted to see exactly what position this part would take up. So that's fairly clear as to where that'll sit. It all seems to be quite reasonable. And the other thing that wasn't cut on this prototype was where the gun mount slots into the top wing at the front. So I'm just going to mark that, and I'll measure that, and then add a little extra slot in the laser guide, so that when you get the kit, it'll be obvious where that goes. Open that up slightly. Allow the material to drop in. Okay. But this is just a dry fit at the moment. I've done that a little bit wonky. Silly me. Try again. It's only a prototype. slightly better. And the slots for a little extension I'm going to stick there, and equidistant on the other side there. Now once again, I'll make sure that the laser file reflects these changes that I'm making, and so that you won't have to actually do this rather manual process of adding slots into the fuselage. So what we can do now is glue that into place. Just bringing those prongs a little bit closer together so it's easier to slot them in when we install. I'm just going to add a little bit of, sorry, bringing those prongs together there. It's out of shot again. So a little bit of glue on the areas that are going to slot into the wings, and I'll leave those there. They can just sit in those holes. I'll add them now. Okay. So let's slot it in there. Slots in there. Just adjust that slightly. It seemed to be under tension a little, so I think one of the prongs have gone in further than the other. So there we go. So now we have our machine gun sitting on the top wing. The only thing we don't have at the moment on there is the ammunition box that sits on there. So we'll check our part here, which is still very wet. It's taking ages to dry. I'm quite new to using CA. Not used to it yet. So maybe I added far too much there, so I'm just taking some off now. Well, I do remember there is you can get a kicker, can't you, that speeds up the process of it curing. So maybe I should get hold of some of that. Certainly. So it's getting tacky. It's certainly sticking to my finger. Just get it off. Get it off my hands. Get out. Of course, in this particular time of super COVID, we've got all sorts of wipes and gels available to us. Good stuff. Right, that's still drying. Let's just do our little ammunition magazine. So anything on there I need? No. Anything on there? Yes. Here we go. Z22. let's grab that. Also need a 2mm part as well. This should be the same diameter as our 1mm piece. Let's hope. Yeah, there or thereabouts. Let's just sand that into a curve. That's better. Just pop these two together. So that's the basis of our ammunition drum. Just pull that apart and let that the magic breath. Kills at 20 paces. No, I shouldn't say that with COVID, should I? It's very insensitive. So anyway, that's that. And now it's a process of adding stickers. The first one that I'm going to add is the S34, which is the edge sticker. That wraps all the way around it. There we go. Now it's a little longer than required. I'm just going to add the wrap the excess. Continue on like so. Then we have top and bottom stickers, S33 and S32. They should. Oh, look at that. It's absolutely perfect fit. Absolutely splendid. Good, good. And S33. There. And S33 is actually the base of the drum, the bass drum. What we need to do, because it actually sits onto a little lug, I think probably the technical term, a little lug just here. We need to make sure that that lug will go in. In fact, I think, look, I've had the foresight to actually cut the sticker. Now you can see it's revealed the foam underneath. So what I'm going to do once I've got that sticker off the knife is I'm actually going to cut into that foam. Just to create a bit of a cavity. Try not to go all the way through. And that, hopefully, a bit more. Of course, the gun is, the plastic that the gun is created from is folded over, so it's just twice as thick as it would be. So that then just sits onto the gun like so. So it gives us a bit more of a three-dimensional effect. So that fits nicely. We'll get the glue on, and just pressing down the edges so we can reduce the amount of white showing through. Get it looking a little more scale. Let's just pop a little bit of glue on there. As you saw, this is extraordinarily flexible, the gun, and of course that makes it there's less likelihood of it being damaged through any crashes that you have with the aircraft or impact. Just clearing off the old glue, the tip of the U-hoop, and from the thread as well. It gets into the thread and stops the top going on, exacerbates the problem. So there we go. Just pop our my plan of not gluing the prongs backfired. They keep coming out. So I'll put some CA, I think, to secure those. I did have a nozzle for my CA glue. Seems to have run away at the moment. Typical. So what I'm going to do is actually use, I'm just going to use a little wire that I've got, spare wire I've got here. Just put CA on the end of it, then use that to apply where I need it. Extra. Okay. There. Good. Excellent. So that's looking a little more realistic with the Lewis gun mounted atop. Okay, now pop that to one side and bring on the hatch. Probably needs a few more minutes of drying, but I don't want to stop the tape, so let's keep rolling, and it can dry whilst we're working on it. So we now need to add this piece of reinforcement to our hatch lid. As I said, this part has got a couple of nicks in to show its center line. So, and the center line, I'm actually going to just use a little pencil mark here just to show it on this part. So I know where it's going. And a P18 actually sits all the way on this. This is the leading edge of the part. This actually sits all the way to the front of that. That gives you your guide. So I'm going to do, it doesn't matter whether you have it around that way or that way, but those little nicks show front and back rather than left and right. So let's just add a little bit of glue onto P18. Actually, before I do, let's just put that to one side. What you've already observed is that I have actually pre-bent all of the scores that I made Just do that again, just to make sure they are that that glue has caused them to become a little more rigid again. So just go. Right, now, as I said, let's apply the glue to the back. That I'm applying it to the shiny side of the plastic sheet. And I'm going all the way around the edges. Let's grip it on the edge so I can get access to all of it. And I'm actually going to add some to the lattice as well. Just a few blobs here and there. Go. And then seat that. Center mark. That's my center mark. So there we go. So that creates a much stiffer, much more resilient part. Although obviously it's added a little bit of weight, but the aircraft can take that, and obviously it helps maintain the part that's being handled all the time. Stops it becoming too scruffy. So just make sure it's all. There we go. Now, the next part of the process is to add the what will maintain the shape of the part fore and aft. So as you would have observed with us making the nose part, we've got this little ridge created by the rear piece of foam that we added, and that should accommodate the material, the hatch material, all the way around. So obviously what you're looking to do is when you've wrapped the material, it just sits at the bottom of the hatch, flush with it. So I'm just going to force this into more of a curve, so it's really not trying to kick out too much and resist the attachment to the nose piece. And then I'm going to add the glue to the leading edge of this part. You can be relatively generous here. And this is one of those moments where the contact adhesive quality is paramount for the Yoo-hoo. So I'm just going to touch this onto the area it's going to sit, just to transfer some of that glue over. And then just bring that apart and let it dry off. Now, our little S17 part, it should, you probably heard the snap there. I didn't have it on camera at the time, but sits there. That actually sits on the back edge of this plastic. It literally sits, get the magnet facing the right way, literally sits like so. The back of the hatch. So what I'm going to do when I untangle myself from the glue is add some glue to this edge. Once again, relatively generous because we want a very good bond. And then once again, take that glue, glued part, just sit it in the area that it's going to accommodate. Transfer some of that glue onto that area. Ooh, stringy. There we go. Just lift that. Don't want the glue setting, keeping it on the building board. There we go. So everything's drying off now. Let's see if our front piece is tacking. Oh, no, that still needs a little time to dry. So I'll put that to one side. I'm going to go off and make a cup of tea, and when I get back, we'll finish that off.